So Delete the Elite's second single off of the debut album by Killprez is out, so I thought I'd do another one of these videos talking about the backstory of the song. And musically, the backstory is a little bit interesting because it stretches back about 10 or 11 years. The music box melody around the middle of the song was actually written on a cheap keyboard years ago. I remember playing it super slow and thinking it would be really cool to have this sort of eerie music box sounding vibe, and then suddenly the guitar comes in and sweep picks the whole thing a lot faster. But I kind of just left the idea at that for years. It just lived in one of my many Guitar Pro folders. It didn't really fit the band I was in at the time, so I kind of just left it to wait until inspiration struck, I guess. And during the making of the album, I would sometimes go through a lot of my earlier ideas, some half-finished songs or stuff that I'd kind of just thrown into a folder and never thought about again, to see if inspiration would strike, and with this one it really did. I immediately started writing other riffs with similar structures or with similar note choices, and when I wrote the intro riff to the song, or the first riff now, it really made me realize where I wanted to take the song. So ended up finishing it relatively quickly, and then I had some ideas of how I wanted to approach the vocals but didn't quite have the lyrical theme at hand, so I kind of sat on it and started working on other things. But lyrically, the first bit that was written was actually the end, so everything from the line, "All the rich men are reapers." And now the inspiration for this came from a conversation at a train station in Gothenburg, where I kind of, as an offhand remark, said that sometimes I felt like people justifying the behaviors and actions of the world's elites kind of felt like people who would defend the Reapers in Mass Effect. And I sat there and a few of these lines just immediately came to my head, so I started writing them on my phone, started taking inspirations and references from different video games and different sources. And initially that was meant for a completely different song. I meant for a song to only be that part, and for it to be this spoken word thing in a similar style to something like Slice the Cake's Odyssey to the West album, you know, some of these spoken word bits there. But I never really wrote that song, but I kept working on the rest of the album, and then when time came to start truly working on the vocals for Delete the Elite, I came to that waltzy part near the end and thought this would really fit with some spoken word stuff. And so I just happened to have my phone next to me, so I opened up those lyrics just to kind of get a feel for what kind of style or what kind of perception I wanted that part to give off, and I found that the lyrics just fit perfectly. And I decided, okay, scrap that sort of spoken word interlude or whatever and just focus on this one. And so I worked my way back from there, really wrote all the way back, and the title itself, again, in an interesting way, came from a completely different conversation as well, from years ago when I was walking around Whitechapel in London. And I've always been a big fan of, silly wordplay, puns, or rhymes, and this Delete the Elite thing was one of those things that came to my mind, and I thought someone must have used this, and I couldn't really find a lot of good uses of this phrase, so I thought one day I'm gonna write something that uses it, and now I have. So it's interesting to me because most of the songs that I write typically tend to come together in a short span of time. I tend to go in with a really clear idea, and especially as a young songwriter, I used to kind of think that was how it had to be, otherwise you were somehow forcing something or it wasn't the right way to write. But I realized quickly that there isn't a right or wrong way to write, and I'm glad that I've realized that, because otherwise I would have missed out on putting this weird puzzle that is Delete the Elite together, and I had a lot of fun doing it, and I had a lot of fun with a lot of these different songs, and you'll see some of these themes pop up elsewhere, but only if you stay tuned. So I guess that's my way of clickbaitingly ending this video, but if you haven't heard the single already, I'll link it below and you can check it out.